Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to the first of what could be a few videos on my guilty pleasures. Um, Whenever you mention guilty pleasures, some people tend to say there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure, you like what you like, which I sort of agree with, but in some cases with me, some of my guilty pleasures are seriously guilty, where you just want to hide your head in the sand. But I'm going to start off with what most people would think is a guilty pleasure, but I actually love this group. Yes, they come from my childhood and they've stuck with me, and I know some other members of the VC like this group as well, because I've actually seen John Heaton show one of their albums, and I've seen Steve Whitty show a box set of their albums, so I don't feel so bad now. And that band is the Wombles. Now, the Wombles were little furry creatures that lived on Wimbledon Common, and they're eco-friendly. They used to go around, they're still there by the way, but you just don't see them. They went around lifting up people's litter and recycling everything they found. They were conceived by Elizabeth Beresford. In her books she started writing them or published them in the late 1960s, and it went through to about 1974-75, and in 1973 the BBC created a 5-minute children's TV show which was aired just before the evening news, and I absolutely loved it. There were little puppets and great stuff, and the theme tune for the Wombles became very popular. It then became a single and was released in late 1973, but I don't think it charted until 74, and that was the Warbling song. So a full album, the Warbling song became a #4 hit, and then this was released, which is an album, the very first album, called Warbling Songs. Now, as you can see, the little furry creatures there, and they were Great Uncle Bulgaria, who was the wise old Womble, Madame Choulet, who was the housekeeper really, and she did all the cooking. Orinoco, who was probably the big star. He was fat, he was lazy, and he always wanted 40 winks. Tobermory, who would have been the handyman. Wellington, with the glasses, he was the smallest Womble, and he was the most intelligent. Bungo, not to be confused with Bungle out of Rainbow. He didn't have much of a personality at all, to be honest with you. And my favourite Womble was Tomsk, who was the fitness freak and was a bit thick on it. But this album here is great. It contains the actual television version of the Wombling song, as well as the full version, which was the hit single. And a lot of this music is, some of it's actually quite classical based background. For example, exercise is good for you, laziness is not. It's got a real rousing sort of like a violin orchestra behind it. Madame Choulet is a lovely song. The Great Uncle Bulgaria's March is like, well, it's not the Hall of the Mountain King, so I can't remember, but there is a classical theme to it as well. The Womble's Warning is a lovely little song. Yeah, one thing I will say about all the songs here are either sung about the Wombles or about wombling activities. I love it. It's great. It's a great wee album from 1973, and that's Wombling Songs. I'll also say the lead singer was Mike Batt, who wrote all the songs, and they're not sung in the way that Pinky and Perky or Alvin and the Chipmunks are sung. They're actually sung properly, and they had some good backing musicians as well. Chris Spedding was on guitar, Rick Cooper played percussion, and a guy called Clem, it's not Clem Burke, it's Clem, he was the Blondie drummer, but this other drummer is a Clatini, who played with Paul McCartney, and other artists like Bob Dylan also featured. But they released their second single, Remember You're a Womble. Now the thing was, to become a big hit single you really needed to feature on Top of the Pops, and you couldn't put little puppets on Top of the Pops, So what they had to do was get the members of the band and dress them up as Wombles. So they were no longer little creatures, they were bloody massive. And their second single, Remember You're a Womble, got to number 3, and they released this album, and as you can see, they're actually guys dressed as Wombles. Now, Remember You're a Womble, this album actually is full of different styles of music. It is really, really good. Remember You're a Womble is almost like a glam rock call and response type song. It's great. Banana Rock, the next single, which hit number 9 in the charts, is like a West Indian rock song. There's no such thing as a West Indian rock song because you think of reggae, but it is a West Indian rock song. Minuetto Allegretto steals from Mozart, which is like a waltz type number, and it got to number 16 in the charts. But you have a nice little acoustic ballad, sort of like John Denver with Wellington Goes to Waterloo. You have a Beach Boys parody with Non-Stop Wombling Party, and then you've got a barn dance with the Womble Square Dance. It's really, really good album. Again, different styles of music. And this album got to number 18 in the charts, whereas the first one got to 19. And I know a lot of American friends will say, are they mad in the UK? But Remember You're a Womble also hit the top 60 in America, the single, so it got number 55, I believe. After that they released their third album, and this one at the end of 1974, and this is Keep On Wombling, and again this is more of the same. It's a fantastic album. That there's Orinoco, well, the guy dressed, I think Mike Batt dressed as Orinoco, and then you see the cartoons all around. Again, this, as I say, a mixed bag, and there was only one single taken off this, and this was the number 2 hit, Wombling Merry Christmas, which I think was fantastic. It's one of my top 5 Christmas party songs. It's up there with Wizards' I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, and Slade's Merry Christmas Everybody. Side 2 of this is fantastic, starting off with a Wombling Twist, which is a twist song. Tobermory's Music Machine is one of the catchiest little numbers you'll ever get. It's like a rhythmic type machine running song to a certain groove. Wipe Those Womble Tears From Your Eyes is a nice country song. Invitation to the Ping Pong Ball in the Chinese Wombling Ping Pong Ball Hall is a great wee rock song. I mean, it is a really good song. The whole side 1 is taken up with Orinoco's Dream when he was having 40 winks, and it's just as good. You've got Hall of the Mountain Womble, which is taken from, is it Grieg's Hall of the Mountain King? Look Out for the Giant, it's a good song. Womble of the Universe is very, very catchy as well. Excellent album, and this actually got to number 17 in the charts. This was the first Wombles album I ever bought. I got this when it came out in '74 in the first week of release, and because I loved it so much, I got the other 2 for Christmas that year. So Keep On Wombling, fantastic. Now 1974 ends, and the Wombles become the band stroke artist that has the most weeks in the UK singles charts. So David Bowie couldn't beat them, Elton John couldn't beat them, Paul McCartney, Slade and so forth. It was the Wombles that spent the most weeks in the singles charts. 75 comes along and they release this album, Super Wombling, and this is a pretty damn good album as well. The single off this was, what was it? Super Womble, which got to, what number did it get to? Number 20, and Wombling White Tie and Tails got to number 22. They weren't quite, the success was going down a little bit, and this failed the chart. I think, you know, a year of them and people had enough, so this was their final album, but this is still really good as well. Like The Myths and Legends of King Merton Womble and His Journey to the Centre of the Earth. Is that not influenced by, what's your guy out of Yes, the keyboard player called? With the blonde hair, Rick Wakeman? It must be. Miss Adelaide, She's Got a Lot of Knowledge, is a funny wee reggae song which is quite reminiscent in style to Roy Woods when Grandma Sings the Banjo. To Wimbledon With Love is like the James Womble Bond song. and Nashville Wombles is another country song. It's really, really good. Now, you say, would these songs be good if the lyrics were changed? Well, they probably would be, but I just like them. I like them as they are. They are very, very well constructed songs, very well produced, and you know, they're enjoyable. And if you are in your 50s, you know, you'll love this stuff because you'll remember the TV show, especially if you're from the UK. So that's Super Wobbling, and from 1975. Then they released a greatest hits called The Best of the Wombles, and this is all the singles that I mentioned, and there's nothing new off this at all, but it's absolutely fantastic album. This is on the Warwick label. You know, it was originally CBS, but it didn't take long before it went on the cheapo Warwick label, which is fine by me, I don't mind. But in 1977 they did a film, and this is Wombling Free. Now this isn't really a Wombles album as such. It does feature some of the songs from the previous albums, but a lot of incidental music which is based around the Wombling song theme. It's not a bad listen actually, and it features who does it feature? Your guy out of, I can't see the credits here, out of Mary Poppins, what's his name, the father, I can't remember his name, and it also features Bonnie Langford when she was quite young. Now the thing about this film is that the Wombles themselves were played by shorter people, and I don't know the political correct word for dwarves, but they were played by them. I've never seen the film at all. I just saw a few pictures. I must have a look and see if there's anything on YouTube. But yeah, it's not a bad album, but it's not really a Wombles album. And so that was it until the 1990s, and they seemed to get a bit of a resurgence, and they were redrawn into cartoons, I believe. And Remember You're a Womble got into the top 20 again in the singles, and the Wombling song got into the top 30, so they got back in the charts. And then in 2000 this monstrosity happened. The Wombles and Roy Wood, I Wish It Could Be a Wombling Merry Christmas Every Day, which is a mashup between two of the best Christmas songs ever, and it's terrible. It just doesn't work. I bought this at the time because I knew there was a live version of Roy Wood's I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day on this, and it's great, but I can't play the A-side, it's awful. And then in 2011, guess what? The Wombles played Glastonbury. And the organiser Michael Eavis, before they were to appear, started having doubts, saying maybe it's a mistake that he booked them. And to which one of the Wombles replied, well, for that we are not going to tidy up the place afterwards. We were going to tidy up the whole of Glastonbury, but not anymore. And they played, and they went down a treat, and there's clips of them on YouTube playing, and they were brilliant. So that is my first guilty pleasure. It's not my guiltiest, because I'll defend these guys, because as I say before, these are really good songs. They're very, very well written songs, well played, well produced. Okay, they're all about Wombles, but sure, what the heck. So that's me for now, and I hope to have another video quite soon. Thanks now, bye bye.